Welcome back to the show. We're talking about the crisis in the war-torn country of Yemen, now also dealing with a cholera epidemic and looming famine. And from Paris, we're joined now by Radhya Almutawakel. She is president of the Mwatana Organization for Human Rights that monitors events in Yemen. Radhya, welcome to the show. Let me start with you for this part of the show. We've been talking about the crisis there, the humanitarian crisis, the cholera epidemic, the looming famine. What is your assessment of the situation in Yemen right now?
Well, the international NGOs, the humanitarian international NGOs, they said that these crises in Yemen are man-made crises. They are not nature crises. They are due to the violations that all political parties to the conflict in Yemen are committing. Houthi and Saleh armed group, they are committing a lot of violations at different levels. But since the one who just before me was talking about Saudi Arabia, about the relations and about God, let me tell you that we have documented more than 130 incidents by the Saudi-led coalition, and those strikes had killed thousands of civilians. Most of them are women and men. The Saudi and Emirati-led coalition has struck everything in Yemen: bridges, houses, hospitals, schools, factories. And I just want to say something, one fact about the war in Yemen. There is no heroes in the war of Yemen. There are only criminals and victims. Most of the Yemeni people are civilians, and they are tired from all these political parties, from the ground and the air. So there is, in the level of political parties, Yemeni and Saudi and Emirati and other countries who are involved in the war, there are no friends for the civilians.
Seyed Mousavian, this blaming put on all parties in this war. Saudi Arabia is blaming Iran, saying that the Iranians are supporting the Houthis. And do we know what Iran's relationship with the Houthis are, or is?
You know, there is a big exaggeration about Iran's support of Houthis. Everyone knows it. Those who know the history, they know very well Zaydis, Houthis, they have been ruling Yemen for 1,000 years. They are neither group and nor proxy group of any country. They have been ruling this country for 1,000 years. Only early 1960s, when Egypt invaded Yemen, Egyptians, they removed Houthis from power. Since then, they have been fighting to regain the power. But after the Egyptian invasion, Houthis, Zaydis, they were ally of Saudi Arabia. They never were ally of Iran. Ali Abdullah Saleh was ally of Saudi Arabia, ally of Saddam Hussein. He supported Saddam during his invasion of Iran. He was supporting Saudi Arabia, GCC, in fight against Iran. Therefore, they have been really the ally of Saudis, and even the school of thought of Zaydis, Houthis, theologically, is more close to Sunnis than Shia. They are not 12 Shia. They are different with Iranian Shia school of thought. Only Houthis, they turned to Iran when Saudi Arabia attacked Yemen. Therefore, Saudi Arabia practically pushed their own allies toward Iran by attacking Yemen.
Right.
Therefore, this is too much exaggeration. Nevertheless, I believe you need to think about diplomacy and peace. The security of Saudi Arabia is very important. The security of Yemen is important. And both are influencing the security of the region.
Okay, I want to
think about diplomacy to resolve the crisis.
All right, I want to go back to Radhya in Paris. And Radhya, as we heard earlier on, the United States and the United Kingdom are also playing a role in this conflict. They're supplying weapons to Saudi Arabia, weapons which are ending up being used against Yemenis. Are Western governments partly responsible for what we're seeing in Yemen?
Yes, sure. The UK and the US, they should be blamed for supporting Saudis in this war. And any country that supports any party to the conflict should be blamed, because what is supposed to be done from the political, from the international community, is to support peace and to be balanced through all the political parties. Houthis, they are a political armed group. They are a new political armed group. And it is very different from talking about sects and Zaydis, sects, So it's not even a historical problem, because all groups in Yemen, they are very pragmatic. Houthis themselves, they have a long war with Ali Abdullah Saleh, and then they are allies. It's just a war for the power at the expense of civilians in Yemen.
Abdulateef, there are accusations that hospitals, that civilians have been targeted in this war, and that they have been targeted by Saudi Arabia. What is your response to that?
Well, we can go talk about this all night, but let's be frank and honest. Why would Saudi Arabia attack a hospital in Yemen when it is Saudi Arabia that's the one that built it? But let's be frank and honest. Yemen, even if you stop the war today, will not be stable, because it was never stable. My heart's always with the Yemenis. The Saudi hearts are with the Yemenis. If the Yemenis are suffering this much, I wish today they declare that the cease of hostilities, then the hostilities would end. Saudi Arabia wants to end the hostilities a long time ago. But again, we cannot stand by or stand still if the Saudi southern borders are being threatened by the Houthis. And I wish things will be calm in Yemen, and there will be a political solution. And the Houthis are more than welcome to be part of the solution, right, and part of the political system. We are not against the Houthis because they are Houthis. And are they supported by Iran? Yeah, they are supported by Iran. But again, we have nothing against the Houthis. Houthis are part of the Yemeni society. So we want to stop everything, and everybody sit down together and solve the Yemeni problem today, not tomorrow, frankly.
All right. Well, as you can hear there, Sama, everybody's blaming each other for this conflict. And as Abdulateef told us, this war could end tomorrow if the Saudi Arabians wanted to, but they're threatened by the Houthis. So what happens?
So it's very clear that the blaming game is going to continue. The only problem is every side is hurting the other side. Saudi Arabia committed crimes in Yemen. The Houthis are committing crimes in Yemen. The country is, in essence, falling apart. There's no law, so it's in a state of lawlessness. The government continues to reside outside of Yemen. Now we have a parliament that's taken place, a parliament session that's taken place in the north, and a parliament session that's planned to take place in the south of Yemen. In essence, we have a government in the north and a government in the south. The country's falling apart. The international community is witnessing this happen, and it's okay, because ultimately everybody wants complete victory. That's what we need to know, is that the humanitarian relief is there. It's possible to end this war. It's possible to stop killing these people, but it is a bargaining chip. It is a power move over the other side. And I also want to add something to what Radhya said earlier, and to what the guest in Iran said. We have to be clear that the Houthi movement does not equal what Zaydi is. Being a Zaydi means that you are a specific sect of Islam that has existed in Yemen for many, many years. But to be a Houthi is a completely different thing. It is a political movement that's a nascent movement that came about after 1994. It has nothing to do with being a Zaydi, but this is the problem with the Middle East, is they confuse your political identity with your religious one, and then the fighting continues. Now, what is going to happen in Yemen is probably we're going to continue to see this maneuvering. There's no peace in sight. Nobody is pushing for peace. And with the deputy crown prince preparing to take power in Saudi Arabia, the person who's waging the war in Yemen, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is probably going to be the next king in Saudi Arabia. He is now the deputy crown prince. And so what we see is that he's probably going to want to see the end of this war with complete victory. And that's unfortunate.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thanks to all of you for joining us. That's it for another edition of The Heat. I'm Arun Naidu in Washington, D.C. Thanks for being with us.